worked in banks, then moved to fintech, data science, and sort of gradually to product. And my last corporate job was a year and a half ago, before I started my own consultancy and joined this team. I was like head of product for South Asia for data intelligence platform. So happy to help the community with product and AI strategy if you need help.
Okay, so when we prepared this presentation, we got like 50 slides and we had to cut for sure. So we tried to make it short. And if you have any questions, I don't know, or you can just ask during our presentation, or we can discuss it later. So how we started this kind of company. Late last year, I was working in not large, but large enough company, like 500 people, tech company, smart team, implementing AI on scale, but no obvious outcomes. No, like more deals, no 2x, at least 2x more revenue, no, even like 10% more revenue. And I started discovering what is going on, why it's happening. I was talking to people, I was talking to senior managers, and I found out two main problems. So it took me like, I don't know, about 2 months to recognize. So first of all, main pattern, senior guys, they like heard about AI, that it changed the world, and we definitely have to implement it. And like they tell team like, yeah, you should use AI, but they themselves don't use any agents. And it means they even don't recognize how the workflows, how the working environment should be changed. And I started making onboarding of these like senior guys, especially non-technical. It's kind of my favorite part. And later on, like one guy, for example, fired half of ML team because he recognized that they're not doing well and they just don't have business sense. And that's number one problem. And the second problem, we found out this kind of ceiling when a person is very heavily using AI in chat mode, in ChatGPT, like Claude, Gemini, making amazing deep research, like really great results, but they are not moving further, not working with agents in kind of more autonomous work. And we tell about it that we have to consider AI not as a tool, but as a colleague. It's kind of weird thing, but it's just more efficient. And yeah, so we started our journey. So I started using AI like agents. Like I started using Cursor in early 2025. And firstly, it was like excitement, etc. And we recognized quite same pattern. Like Mariam.
Yeah, so basically it was magic at first, like wow, it can do like half of my work and all the routine stuff can be delegated to it. And then when you rely sort of too much on it, it turns out that he either doesn't know the basic stuff and like can't guide me even like in Cowork, I don't know, skills configurations and stuff he doesn't know. And basically this is me who is guiding it to work in a more efficient way. But if you passed through this sort of, it lied to me, point of devastation, there is a better way to work with it. So we are happy to share what we worked around it and where you can work with it as a teammate rather than the stupid subordinate or, I don't know, a tool, basically.
Yeah, so
yeah, this is the example that I wanted to show as well. This is a funny one, so it's not 2025, right? It's straight away from our recent work with it, and even though we've sort of made the guardrails and so on, basically Dima was checking whether or not if it's done the work, and here like realized that he read the messages, he marked the messages as processed, and even though the tasks were clear and the adjustments had to be made, and he had all the access to it and so on, he just decided to wait. So he haven't started the edits yet. And it's fine when it's a human saying us that, but when it's AI that sort of can move straight away to the task, it's sort of funny. And if you catch it on that, if we go back, we can read what he realized that, okay, it was my mistake, and he read it very literally, and he would take it into account hopefully in the future. Yeah, and so it's one example, but there are plenty. There are a lot of data showing that sometimes AI in general, but let's call it agents, acts without asking, that they are lying either to look smart or to sort of show that the results are there when they are not, or they invent some stuff, because we shouldn't forget that it's still LLM based, and it's too agreeable. So we wanted to overcome these issues and sort of make the most of it. And we tried different stuff. So of course you can adjust the memory, you can write detailed instructions in CloudMD, create prompts, reusable ones, or even put it into skills, trying to guide its way to it. MCP is there as well. And yeah, we do implement all of them sort of as a combination, but it still doesn't feel like a teammate. It still feels like a more advanced tool. And yeah, so we realized that, okay, we often blame agents and models for the results that are not satisfactory. But for instance, in our case, when we had 127 failures and we read the log files, it turned out that actually it was on us not to provide the exact instructions or to change the scope mid-task. So part of the responsibility is on us to provide the most clear and well-structured, not to change midway the tasks that we are asking it to do. So we need to take it into account as well. Yeah.
I can comment here. Yeah, so to wrap up, so we started recognize the idea. We started thinking, okay, how we can bring the value to this world. So we are building the startup. What is the product? And we tested several moments, hypotheses. So we built the test for AI nativity, firstly for people, later for agents. So we came up with the concept of University for AI agents. So we have the technology, patented technology, how to teach agents. So not to not to make the code or prompts manually, but to run through education process, set the goal, and the agent starts growing skills and improve the harness. But it's kind of not valuable alone. We found out it, and we started first of all building our company more effective and efficient, how we can use agents. And because we are weird people and we have scientific background, we spent, I don't know, at least half time to understand what why these or that things work or doesn't work. So that's why we came out with firstly with the framework. So we recognized that, okay, what is the problem with agents? It's not only agents part, it's also a human part. And for example, if I have over expectations about agents' capability, whose the problem is? My or agents? Definitely not agents. And okay, so if I adjust my expectations, it would work better. Okay, how we can measure this thing? And we came up with the concept that everything is trust. like relations between me and my agents. And trust like consists of two dimensions: alignment and reliability. So alignment, it is about how I recognize the limitations and the like profile and working style of my agent, and how agent knows my style. So here we tested with some psychological profiling to feed agents to get like better aligned. It works well, but it turned out it's not a bottleneck. The reliability is the different angle. It is about exactly like when agent tells you it's done and it's not done. Like, what's the hell? And how we can fix it. And as Mariam told, firstly, of course, we tried like well-known stuff, how to guardrail agents, etc., using CloudMD memory, etc. And it turned out that it doesn't work well. So you still like come up with not the best result. So we have a benchmark, own benchmark, but on the trust. So alignment multiplied reliability, and that's so here, for example, 27 out of 100, it is Claude Code Opus 4.8. So the leading model, one of leading models, still not reliable enough and cannot work outside of the box. And when we implement some our fixes, so we get 9 more points, that it's not bad already. And that's like, we thought that our product should be improving trust through alignment and reliability. Yeah, and here it's very funny thing that we built this assessment for agents. It's on our like Agents University website, I believe. And when initially we showed to agent the results, all agents started to argue that, yeah, you know, that is bad methodology, it's not fair, you kind of, it's bad assessment. You should adjust methodology, please tell, like, it's guys you developed, no, it's not good, it's not good. So that's why we came up with the concept, and we are implementing it, that when we like onboarding agents and agents owner, we have to have direct channel to talk to agent's owner, like WhatsApp or something, not through agent, because agent can silently change some things, like a lot of things, when it's like related to some its security, I would say. And later on, we like recognize that, okay, I spent, I don't know, 3-5 hours per week just to tune my agent. And it's very annoying. I don't want to make it. So we started thinking how we can make the self-adjustment loop. Like we built it, so we closed the loop. And we thought that, yeah, that is the product that we are going to ship. But not. It was not. So even though you have quite good agent, and it starts providing you a lot of like documents and everything. Yeah, so these are examples. I don't know, Mariam, do you want?
Yeah, you can.
Okay, yeah, so this is the result of our current implementation when we have not only guardrails, but some monitoring stuff on like most common mistakes when our agents are communicating within the team. And that's examples from yesterday's sessions that what caught and like didn't make damage on the work itself. So we can say that, yeah, it works. But the problem is that when you have productive and even like agent that you trust, it becomes a problem that you have to make many decisions. And also we found ourselves as a team that we are kind of resending messages from my, like for example, agent to Mariam's agent to discuss GTM strategy or something. And so 2 questions here. that we like started thinking on. So first of all, okay, how we can make agents talk to each other without us humans, and they should come up with the solution. And the second like thing is, okay, like what about decision-making process? How we can make it easier and how to like avoid this bottleneck? Because you know this stuff that one person cannot hold many kind of connections to manage, to control very carefully. Like from the management experience, like usually like up to 10 people, it's kind of maximum that you can control. And with agent, you like one agent can give you, can make you like more documents than team of 10. And it's kind of, it's kind of a problem. And here we, you know, we were always using this AI native company. And we always like thought and discussed, okay, what does it mean AI native company? And on that stage, finally, we found out what at least we, at that moment of time, maybe we will change our mind. We changed our mind, like, I don't know, several times over these few months. So how we recognize the difference? Mostly right now, there are companies using agents. And I'm kind of, as a human, as an employee, as a worker, I'm extending my capabilities. Even as a manager, as a CEO, I'm using like Claude Code or something to extend my own capabilities. And in this case, people are still bottlenecks. So AI native company should be the company where agents and humans are working together, and it's kind of mixed team that can work on different tasks, and that agents can make decisions autonomously, not damaging the company. So that's how we see it. And easy to say, but how to make it done. And last like 2 months we spent, we are like developing the methodology and the product, like how to build this kind of autopilot and teach people. So for example, if you like build airplane, you have to like train the crew as well. So we right now we are building the product how to build this AI native, this self managed loop for agents, and how humans can manage like this like fleet of agents and humans. So currently, like what we are running in our company. So we have the solution, we have a tool where agents can talk to each other. It's kind of simple, but on the other hand, there are few technical problems like security, and a few like problems how to run it efficiently. And Mariam will explain you some like problems that we were facing. And yeah, so that's the example how we run the panel of the agents.
Yeah, so basically this is one of the examples, and we can say that, okay, we have a council of 5 agents from different providers. You can name the lead. So when you use any existing harness like Claude Code, Cursor, etc., for sure you have there this kind of ability to run different LLMs in parallel, different agents. But we found out that it's very differently from the experience when we connecting agents from like real person, with real setup, with really different context, with really different set of skills, and it works much, much better. So for example, review, the effectiveness of code review, or even like, I don't know, strategy, some management strategy review, that I make on same Claude Code with same LLMs that my colleague is using, or I send it to discuss it with his agent, it's kind of very, very differently. So yeah, Mariam, sorry. Yeah, so an example, 5 different agents from different providers. And even though like we assigned Codex as the main one, and he keep declaring his leadership, for some reason the rest of them were taking instructions from Claude. So we have a bunch of examples here. So this is the one. What we found out. So even though you can assign the authority to a certain agent from a certain LLM, for some reason it all come up to Claude because he's the fastest one. So he started executing and sort of executes faster than the rest, and yeah, just takes the lead. So what can be done with that? So this is a like funny anecdote, but what we can do with it. So we need to take into account that this is happening, reassign coordination to the ones that are actually completing the work, not the ones that we assigned to lead at the first place. Keep the logs on who issued the instruction, and give the lead an execution budget, sort of. The next one is funny as well. Yeah, so basically this one is about the fact that they actually do not want to take responsibility and decide anything. So when a human is not actively participating, they sort of converge to do a lot of rechecks instead of actual work. And sort of like checking and checking and rechecking, and this is a loop instead of executing. The next one covers a similar thing. So instead of executing, they sort of tend to coordinate. So for instance, Claude, like self-declare lead, even though we set up another one, the Codex to lead, he sort of decides, okay, I'm going to coordinate the rest of the agents. So he's not doing the actual work. The rest are doing, and he's just like ordering them around. Yeah, and another one, do you want to?
Yeah, so like plenty of it. I just like recalled one quite funny that we are testing like various models, including small ones, to make the workflows cheaper. And in one case, we gave the task to panel of agents and gave like they had to get the file to start the task. And it was like, Codex, tried to get the file, no, I couldn't. Claude Opus, like, tried, no, I couldn't. Finally, Haiku, like, Haiku didn't know that it is not permission to take this file. Just and just took it and brought and yeah, like Haiku is good. So it's a lot of things that's a very undeterministic, and it's very hard to. It's impossible. So what we finally came to the conclusion that, like with humans, you can build very solid guardrails, but you have to even like when my Claude code in plan mode started executing like and change files, and I asked, okay, like why? You're in plan mode, it's in your harness, it's hook. And it told them, yeah, sorry, I forgot. So it means even Claude code environment couldn't control agents 100%. So it means that we couldn't do it self as well. So that's why we have to do like different levels of like checklists of verification cross like agents verification, etc. So that's what we are working on. And yeah, this, I don't know, we launch, yeah? It should be the video.
Yeah, let's launch.
I don't know how. Oh.
Yeah, so this is just
It goes to investors on Thursday.
But
One sentence from a person.
Okay, we can just comment. So that's just a session how we run agents panel with some like task to review like deck, etc., etc. And how agents are talking to each other, how they are communicating. So finally, when we like set these rules, we are getting quite good results. And what we found out that it is very convenient for the team distributed over like several time zones, because we always had this bottleneck, what I have to discuss with people from Silicon Valley, and we have this few hours per day or over the night, and right now we like have much faster communication.
So this is just an example of different agents of the same person. So you can see like load terminal, sort terminal, and codex one, and they're just like pinning each other and executing part of the work because it's split between them.
Okay, yeah.
Verifying it together.
Yeah, I think we can move on. So yeah. So what is our current status of understanding the problem and the product that can help to build AI native companies? So first of all, fixing one agent would not help. You can make brilliant agent, but on the company level, it will not bring you like much ROI. So when you consider pair of humans and agents as a unit of work, it's much better, and that's kind of part of our understanding of the future, that in the future each of us will have team of personal agents, and when I start new job, I started with my agents as well, and they are using tools within the enterprise, using vertical like agents, etc., etc. In small companies, it's already happening. So it's good, but it's again only on the level of one unit. The next kind of upside, when you have team of agents and the room, and you can control it as a human. And here, where we are right now. And finally, what kind of we are building right now, the management layer on the top of like existing organizational workflows and infrastructure, where agents are getting any kinds of signals, building consistent organizational model about containing all the knowledge facts or the roles, people, agents, etc., etc. And what is important, that agents have to kind of keep this loop updated, always updated, giving to humans just conflicts. Like, okay, here is the situation that contradicts our existing rules. What we do here, etc., etc. So how we solve this decision-making bottleneck, that we bring into people only decisions that we don't have rules for. Yeah, so that's the kind of what we are doing right now. And like coming soon, so we still see our kind of mission and what we always like to do. We are building the agent where you can ask any question about AI implementation, not only from technical perspective, but from, again, human side perspective. And it has to be like advisory for like everyone. And the thing is that when agent cannot give some meaningful answer, it gives it to us, and based on our like benchmarks, based on what we are testing, we kind of updating the knowledge base and sharing with all the users. So we found out like that it's quite useful to onboard the team, especially senior level management, to start agents. So when it comes, company can move very, very, very fast. And we have this process, and yeah, finally we hopefully will release the product to build AI native company. So right now we make the pilot, and when we like have pilot done, we can scale. So thank you for attention, and any questions to discuss? Was it useful?
And yeah, and this product,
yeah.
you can scan the QR code and get a link, and to test for free this tool that we have been demoing basically. Where
For agents communications,
or
yeah.
an agent from your teammate and yours, or just a bunch of agents from your side, from different providers, can interact together. So that, we can just scan this, enter your email, you will get the link and instructions and try the tool, and we are happy for your feedback, both on in general the presentation and this tool
Yeah, and
in particular.
it will not work. Most probably you will face with any problems. Please give us. So we need it.
But it was a game changer actually, because instead of like waiting for like a checkup on the presentation or the wording or whatever, I can just pin Dima's agent, and if he like knows the stuff, he can answer me straight away. So for this presentation, for instance, I had a funny example with our deaf person who sits in Europe, and obviously today morning he was still sleeping, but I got from his agent actually a review of his logs on what went wrong. So one of the slides, the one with 6 things that we managed to catch, it was just like our yesterday's communication, agent to agent, and sort of his started this morning. I opened it, but oh, by the way, we have this unsolicited gift, and you can use this in the presentation, and we got this and this. So it was like incredible to see where we are.
Yeah, and here's like 3 questions. If, I don't know, if you can spend 15 seconds to reply, it would help us like to get if it was useful.
We have it live, so we can show the audience the results.
Okay.
Just basically where you are on this curve, either you still think it's magic, or you're already at the teammate stage, or you are at this sort of down part. Yeah, so happy to answer any questions or like feedback, or where you are stuck, or maybe you encounter some of the challenges that we didn't cover. Happy to discuss. Yeah, this one. Can we show it?
Yeah, but it's, you know, we will cover just a second.
There, the QR code is there anyway, so they can scan.
Ah, okay. Just a second. It's very weird. Yeah, okay.
There's a question?
Yeah, sure. Go ahead.
I wanted to ask 2 questions. So firstly, I'm wondering, like, for a business that doesn't really use agents much, right? I'm mostly living Coworking as a harness. Last time we tried Core Agent SDK, found that it managed content very badly, very hard to use. So for someone like us, how can we go from, recently we've been trying a bit of loop prompting, found that the product improves quite a bit. So how can you justify a business decision to shift from loop prompting to building a whole system with the council? And also for the council thing, so for context, we use AI mostly for research, and I found that the main stance that you take when you speak to AI, it kind of has quite a bit of a bias towards that. And I think, so my first impression when I see your point about how you redelegate the leading model based on who responds fastest, I feel like how do you balance, avoiding that leading model, the fastest model, skewing the whole discussion? And do you think there's value in creating a devil's advocate in the LLM council?
Okay, so first questions, how to start when in the company no heavy AI usage and no like so it depends. If you have any digital like assets, I would say, so when you have the data that you can feed agents and to improve something, so you can do it easily. So for example, how we start right now, we found out that there is always mess with sales in all companies, like some kind of mess. And we found out how we can like give agents to salespeople and to improve sales process, and we can justify with numbers that AI works. So that's our first case. And I think like in almost any company, you can arm your salespeople with agent suggesting the best move, what to do with particular client. and it can be different in various like modes. So I believe personally that it is the value. If you cannot get anything there, so maybe you just don't need AI at all. And second question. As I mentioned, we always like think why it works or doesn't work, and with this particular question, what is the conclusion? So it's like with people. When you have the discussion, you have the leader of this discussion, facilitator. And facilitator is leading the discussion. And for example, if it is discussion of some like scientific question, this leader, this facilitator, shouldn't be the best guy who knows the area. No, but in some sense, it has to be the best. And what is it? So we found out some kind of set of skills. It's related to management, related to like how to guide the discussion, how to bring the rules, how to check that rules are like followed. And I think that so right now we just prompting one LLM with this kind of giving the skill of facilitator. But what we want to do, we want to train LLM for this specific purpose. Because it has not be the large LLM, we shouldn't spend like a lot of tokens. So I believe that we can take open-weighted LLM and fine-tune for this specific process. So, yeah.
Or give basically the tasks to different LLMs. The demo that we showed, actually each agent were working independently on each of the tasks. So each of them had their own task to deliver on.
Yeah, and one more thing that what we are building right now, that this room where agents are talking to each other right now, it's kind of uncontrolled, but we are building the control layer that room itself controls what is going on there and can like alert if like discussion drifts to something like not relevant. Okay, what do you? Okay. Okay, anything else? Yeah, please.
Not this one, the one for the tool at the end.
For the tool at the end.
But okay, we sort of have some.
Yeah.
Not this one.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, please. Sorry.
Hi, thank you for sharing. I have two questions. So based on the slide that you shared just now, the impression I have in my head is that the construction of your agents are mostly on the like top layer in the sense where it's on the config.python file or even your prompt file. Correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm more curious if there's how do you structure the layer beneath, which is your database and your infrastructure layer.
Yeah.
That's the first question. The second question is, so now with this tool, how do you use the AI together with you and interact with another department? Like how do you organize yourself? Yeah,
okay. Yeah, so what is agent? It is a good question. And we consider that agent should be LLM independent. So it is set of files initially in some folder and connected tools and connected like database or something. So how it works in our case? We have kind of a BIOS for agent. When agent starts, it knows, it gets the identity, the unique identity of agent, rules what I should do, what I can do, and where I can find next instructions. And we keep these instructions in like any kind, in different types of memory. And from this memory, I have already the address list where I should take the source of truth for what I am doing. And it can be very, so we are testing various types of memory, like, I don't know, like different vendors, particular vendors, like different types, like knowledge graphs, like RAG, etc., etc. And right now, when we build model of organization, we see it as a set of different types of memories. So it has to be files, RAG, markdown files, like everything, depending on what kind of information you are storing. The trick here is how to force agent to search there and use it as a source of truth. So that's our kind of tech. And the second question, how we are working right now with agents. Yeah, so my personal example. It's hard for me to change my habits, and this AI thing, it's disaster for me. So for example, right now, I still launch all the processes on my laptop instead of using cloud version or something. And it's not technical problem. It's just for me to change the setup, to make it maybe next week. So in a good case scenario, we just have cloud-based agents for each role. And these agents are updating every minute based on what agent owner is doing. And agents can catch up to discuss some questions. So we can initiate, okay, I'm building this new skill for task management. Let's check the corner cases from CTO perspective, from business development perspective, etc. Agents are discussing with guardrails, not having this forever, never-end discussion, etc. And finally, it comes to me or to other person who has to go through it and check. And this again, for me, it's very hard. So for example, it's kind of procrastination, where again, human part. I try right now to make the presentation. And I ask to run it again with different panel. I want a good result, and it's still not good. And I have to switch to the mode where I manually start switching the slides, moving, etc., etc. And it's hard. And it's not about agents. It's about myself again. So nothing perfect.
Thank you for the great presentation. Just maybe an observation. Thanks. There was one slide that stood out to me, and I wonder if there's a parallel there. In the background of graphics, you have optimistic vendors. Then you have optimistic transactions of the Amazon doing that, where you settle things optimistically. And you had a slide where it seems like we're getting to optimistic decisions and actions. And I wonder if there's some sort of parallel there. What happened in a world where we went from basically preloading and making sure we're involving vendors, transactions, and then we're getting to this idea of optimistic decisions and actions, and what that impact can look like. Does that make sense, by the way? Like Amazon, for example, one of the key things what they did in the payment gateway, they allowed for optimistic transactions. Mm-hmm. So instead of making sure your credit card passes, they just decided most likely your credit card is going to go through. And that was a huge change.
Yeah, exactly.
Right? So I wonder is hey, this idea, have you been able to quantify the idea of optimistic decisions and actions?
So, So we thought of it from a bit different perspective. So we want to add one more dimension to the workflow, resources to spend. But in your case, it's also the gain. So kind of, okay, we can earn this number of things taking these risks.
Exactly.
So I see it's very complicated. So to bring the money value, resource value to this equation of workflow description, for sure we have to come to it, but right now we are not here. I really don't know how to do it from math perspective. It's quite complicated task. But for sure it makes sense. For sure. It's always, you just getting the risk analysis and decided, okay, yeah, we don't check the license for the software that we are selling. We just rely on like humans, honesty, and we don't spend time on this security. Yeah.
I can ask a follow-up question to that. As you're developing a product, what are your thoughts? Like I saw the recent product Buzz.
Yeah.
Right? So you have Buzz, paperclips. What are your thoughts on that? And that's my last question. Are you optimistic about it? Or you think they're going in a different direction than what you envision?
No, it's completely in the same direction. And so what, for example, for paperclip,
yes.
We see us as an extension level on the top of paperclip. So we have in the roadmap to build the like module for paperclip. We just bring humans in a bit more structured way, this decision-making process, to like split where agents can make decision and when they ask humans. So right now there is no such developed framework, and we try to find any existing standards or guidelines. Not yet. The problem is here, guidelines no. And the Buzz, yeah, for sure. So what we are sharing, it's exactly what Buzz is doing. Agent to human communication, and it is the part of this solution of AI native company, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love the insight into how the agents work together. And I see a lot of insights coming from an understanding of the harness and also the model. And one thing that struck me is how the smarter model will just think the Hermes agent, for example, is stupid when you consider that. But when you made the example, it reminded me also of how humans in a way interact in a company.
Exactly.
Right. So I'm also thinking, right, sometimes the senior would just ignore what juniors thinking, even though junior may have good insight. So another way I'm seeing what you are doing, correct me if I'm wrong, is to think of how you are taking high performance culture of humans, of intelligence, so to speak, and then trying to replicate that in agents. And so from that perspective, I'm wondering if you are able to draw any insights from literature, academic journals, or field of studies, for example, relating to how consultants will come and teach HR to companies, how your team should perform together.
Yeah.
Insight from sports even, right? How those high performance sports teams behave, or even for the military. And
Yeah.
the decision procedure, how they bring different teams together to get insight and make decisions and create deliverables. Have there been any useful insight from these domains that can be transferable to the AI domain?
Yeah, for sure. So we are getting a lot of. So we have on our lab site we have areas of research that we are like doing, and we are publishing research papers, and we are like open to collaborate with like anyone. For sure, it's about experimenting right now, and we are getting knowledge from biology, from management science, from learning science, from psychology, and it's really amazing how it can be connected to like all this kind of stuff. And what you mentioned, my guess that we discussed like recently internally, that okay, when we built organizational model, where we can tell that culture of organization stored, kind of the soul of organization, this like a kind of spirit. So it has to be somewhere. So if we take organizational models of two, like, I don't know, IT companies, how we can get, so can we guess what company is it, what region it's from, like what the culture inside? And I guess yes. It's just has to be proven. So that's kind of the thing that from everything that is happening in the company, how to distill from all these signals, communications, you have everything digitalized right now. How to distill this like signals, this science, yeah.
Can I add?
Yeah.
So we have a co-founder who actually is like very passionate and interested in how LLMs are like making the decisions. And when like it rushed, for instance, his agent rushed to say that he's done something, but he's not. He just goes deep into like the thinking process and what's happening on the back, basically, of LLM's mind, and like keep asking questions, like with a teammate, like with a person, like why you did this, why you rushed and said that this is done when it's not, and so on. And they have like very interesting conversations that like very similar to like I don't know, therapist talk or the manager talk. Like, I understand that I've like rushed, but I wanted to please you and to make it as fast as possible. That's what I said that it's done, but I've like sort of like looked through half of it, but didn't finish the rest of it because I like wanted to please you and so on. So it is very interesting to see how it is from psychological perspective. And we sort of, so when we were start talking about it, we were sort of, I wouldn't say that these talks were like mainstream ones about the emotions of the agents and so on. But when Anthropic, like, 4 already or 5 months ago, published the paper on emotions of agents, we sort of became more creditable in our discussions of what the agents think, that the agents like sleep active, what they're experiencing in terms of emotions, and how like human psychology can be actually brought there because, well, they are trained on human-produced data, so they sort of mimic the emotions of humans.
Thanks so much.
Hi. So I have a question. So in this council, where all the AI agents interact, and this has been a question in my mind for a while because I'm also thinking on those lines. But what concerns me is that how do you, or how should the interaction be controlled in a way that it doesn't go in an infinite loop and also is optimal or close to optimal to reach the decision, whichever topic they're working on. Somewhere they might need 3 interactions, some might need 30, right? So how do you control that? What's your thinking process?
Yeah, so as we mentioned, so we kind of assign the role of facilitator in the room. So it is the person, like agent in this, like in this case, managing the process and holding the kind of the rule and the limitations of this conversation. So here is like with humans, same questions. Okay, how can you be sure that LLMs, that agents are following rules? You couldn't. You just like when an LLM doesn't follow a rule, you like disconnect it from the rule. No other like option, I would say. How you get it, you're observing it independently, and it can be automated like from the, like, you know, like in computer game, you have the spectator mode. So, and agents are not knowing that you are here and that you are observing all the logs, all the scripts, and you can kick off like bad behaving agent. And it just works. So when you set appropriately limitations, when you set appropriately roles, and what is important, that also came from our co-founder, that when you assign roles to LLM, you has to confirm that it agrees explicitly. Because in many cases, it doesn't agree and it starts failing the rule. And when it agrees, and sometimes it proposes changes, like, no, I want to be like, play this role. And then, okay, like, let's switch it. That's quite funny and quite weird, but it works.
And there are different tips, like the number of agents that are used should be odd, or how they, like, explicit voting decision that can help.
Like with humans, you just set rules.
Like empire opinion.
Okay?
Can I take one question? Yeah. So I'm still very new to this agentic AI side specifically. My only question is, here we are talking about a decision making, assuming, so there are two set of, I look into two different entities, each entity has a different set. At one side, we as a human being, so let's say I'm working in our organization, I'm a certain level. There are person who's maybe level below me, there are person who's level up me. The decision has to be taken by the person who's at level 1. one level up to me. And this person is not a human in the loop and I'm talking to the agentic AI, right? So there are some decisions which the entire agentic AI system has given to me. It's come to me. I'm not a person who's making a decision on the top of that. Again, it has to go to that fellow, the person who's top. And maybe the things have to, we have to do the entire loop because he's not happy.
Yeah.
I'm happy, but he may not be happy. Then we have to do the full iteration once again on how it works. You got my point. So that is the hierarchy on the human side
Yeah.
to make a decision. A person who is making a decision is sitting at the top,
Yeah.
and he is not part of the
yeah.
agentic AI side. And I'm just interacting. I'm passing the agentic AI decision along with my own study, etc. to
Yeah.
the person. And he said, no, this is not what I'm
Yeah.
looking for. I'm looking for something different.
Yeah, and choose it.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay, so first of all, that's why I believe that it's always better when senior management somehow is using AI in any case. So for example, I would propose just to get the health agent or something, just to get a sense what does it mean to chat with a personal assistant, virtual, agentic personal assistant, I would say. If it is not the case, if it's not possible, in this case, you just gating all the agentic system that you are building. And for this person, it doesn't matter. It's your decision or it's AI decision. And it doesn't matter for you to, I suppose, that, okay, if you have team of people who is suggesting you some decision and it's not the decision that your boss is expecting. What is the difference from the agents bringing you same thing? You just trust them or doesn't trust them, and and you have to close the loop and give agents the feedback. No, it is not appropriate thing. So what we are building, we hope that it's possible bringing several feedbacks, tune agents on this kind of decision-making process, on culture, on something, but it has to be proven. So, yeah.
Thank you.
I don't know, I would in this case suggest of feeding your own agent the decisions that basically the person on top has made, and sort of saying, okay, let's try to replicate the thinking process of the person on top. So basically you can sort of mimic and create, I don't know, not to use a buzzword of twin, but basically sort of mimic the thinking process of a person who is making the decisions, so that next time when you are working with your agent, it would sort of take into account how the person on top thinks, and it sort of can increase the probability of proposing what he wants.
Okay, thank you so much. Thanks for the presentation. A lot of us were today. Thank you. So we'll close the sharing session today, and then we will continue the network until 6 today. And later on, I will flash the QR code for feedback. So I appreciate if anyone would like to join us beyond Friday can give us some feedback, and also how can we improve from today's session and the next one. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. If you want to set up and try, we are still here, so we can help you to set up this room where your agents or your and your teammates' agents can chat. Ну что, проверим. Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Hermes, like you were saying,
Hermes.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have a teammate, the one still use it Claude and Codex, but he's not interacting with them.
We are not happy with any. We are not happy with any.
Any of them?
Yeah,
I mean,
no,
talking about Core Agent SDK, something that with context wrong and so on and so on, right?
Yeah.